Today I'm giving you guys a behind the scenes look at making a 2-foot tall Draken painting. I hope that you enjoy. First up, I bought a cheap projector to trace Draken onto my canvas. I got this for $50 on Walmart. Not the best quality, but works for what I need it for. It took a little bit of time to adjust the position of the canvas so that I had the projection right where I wanted it. And once it was positioned, I used some masking tape to secure the projector and the canvas because I don't want it to move while I am tracing with pencil. I took about 20 minutes to trace Draken onto this canvas. It's kind of hard to do because obviously if your shadow is blocking the projection, you have no reference image to go on. But ultimately I felt like this was pretty accurate. I think I missed a few things, but it turned out not too bad. And I know this might seem a little backwards, but once I traced Draken, I started to work on the background rather than work on him. I am using comic books, old textbooks, old scrapbook papers to work on a background, and basically I cut them into strips. They are about a ½ an inch wide, I believe, and I decided that I would paste these vertically on the canvas so that it would kind of draw attention to the fact that Draken is so tall. And yeah, I wanted colors that kind of stood out from the very strong like black and whites of his jacket. Once I had a decent amount of papers cut out, I was able to start pasting them onto the background. Obviously I have a mask and gloves because I'm working with decoupage. It has a very strong smell, and if you have asthma like me, it can be kind of irritating. And even if you don't have asthma, I recommend wearing protective gear. So for gluing these strips down, I apply glue first, and then I put the paper down, and then I use my fingers to smooth it out and make sure there's no air bubbles, and to make sure that it has a really nice seal with the canvas. Decoupage can be kind of tricky. It's easier with like porous materials like canvas and paper, but if you're trying to put paper on something that's maybe more like smooth and like water resistant, it can be really difficult, and it takes a lot of time to get that skill down to avoid those bubbles. So you can probably tell at this point I am avoiding placing the papers on Draken himself because I don't want the paper strips and the lines to show through the paint that I'm going to use to paint him. There are a few bits of paper that do go over, but it's not super noticeable, especially with the scale of the piece. And the thing I really love about this technique I'm using is that from far away you have a really cool texture on the piece, but if you go up close to it you might see what is being used, right? So I'm using like an old Avengers comic. If you get too close you might see Hawkeye or Captain America or something else. But far away it looks like a texture. Another neat piece of paper within here is this little thing of guys stretching from an exercise book. Draken's very active because he fights, so I thought that was a neat little touch. And I didn't film it because I didn't want to get paint on the camera, but I did spray paint a frame gold, and you'll see more on that later. And before we get into our painting time lapse, I just wanted to show the reference image one more time. And basically I'm using acrylics and a lot of white and black paint for the clothing. You will notice that for the white I am not using a entirely white paint. I am mixing in a little bit of blue. I definitely recommend if you're working with strong white and black colors on your canvas to just add a little pop of color so it's not so extreme. And I chose blue because the background is very warm and his skin tone and his hair is super warm, so I wanted something that would contrast nicely with that. And I believe I added some blue to the black paint as well. To be honest with you guys, I think this is one of the more helpful videos I've made. It's kind of like a tutorial. A lot of times I come on and I just talk about my life, especially when I'm working with paper crafts. I have over 100 paper craft videos, some anime, some Pokemon, so feel free to check those out if you'd like, and also subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this so far. We have a really lovely community here, and I owe that all to my subscribers. They are so kind and so creative. I love them so much. So we would love to have you here. It's a great time, and I just share my art journey. I also can be found on Instagram, Facebook, a whole bunch of places, links in the description, and I got my first Patreon supporter this week, and I got really emotional about it. Thank you so much. So yeah, there's that as well, but I really appreciate any follows to help boost my art as well. You don't have to give money, for sure. Alright, my Mushy Gushy advertisement is over. I will stop. But I am wrapping up the jacket on Draken and getting into some of the finer details. I've really been enjoying Tokyo Revengers lately. It is still airing right now, and I love it. I don't know, I love all the relationships between the characters. I find them to be like really meaningful, and it's been a fun watch. Kind of brutal, but a fun watch. I will admit that I am not super in love with the hair color here. I had trouble mixing his hair color because it's a more realistic blonde, right? Like, it's not as macaroni yellow as Takamichi. But I don't know, I just seem to struggle with yellow paints. I painted Momiji Soma from Fruits Basket last summer, and even with his hair color, I was not super confident, but I will learn with practice. So I'm still using a traditional paintbrush to do the eyebrow, the eye, and the earring. I'm just finding a much thinner paintbrush than what I used for the clothing and the face. But when I get into the outline, I am using a Posca paint pen for the first time, which was pretty interesting. I've never worked with them before, and I really liked it. And I know I said not to use black paints in acrylic paintings. I still stand by that. If you're using a really large amount of black paint for a large amount of space, add some color to it. But for the Posca paint pen, I felt like pure black looked okay, especially since it's an anime art style. The Posca pen was so helpful for doing his tattoo as well. The brush tip, or the pen tip, was 0.7 millimeters, so I had a lot of control over the paint to make those really crisp lines of the dragon. Oh, beautiful. I love Draken's character design. And remember that gold frame that I was making? Here it is with the final product. I will probably add some lettering to the frame later, but for now it looks like this, and I just wanted to sit with my work so that you guys could see the scale of this piece. This is one of the biggest pieces I've ever made. It is 2 feet tall, and I absolutely love it. Not sure where I'm going to keep it yet. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys all again soon. Bye!